for a while. Does anybody have any ideas? I could just call on somebody at random and make this a ritual act of humiliation for all of you. I've got one word for you, Jasmine. One word. And that word is eras. Okay? That word is eras. Yeah, don't put it on, Jasmine.
No, I'm not.
Okay, cool.
You're just moving a lot.
I know! Isn't it fun? I'm so active. Okay, eras, okay? Jesus. Jasmine's pop culture inclusion for class, right, was the eras tote bag. Everybody here who is familiar at all with Taylor Swift knows why the word eras carries a particular significance in her case. I'm reminded, Jasmine, did I mention the Lemonade thing in this class, 2016, and when Beyonce came out with Lemonade? Okay, when Lemonade came out, my students, my 18-year-old students, gave a crap about the whole album from start to finish for the first time in a very long time. Like, I was sitting here going, holy shit, they're talking about the whole album and, like, the story behind the whole album and why people care? Because Beyonce and Jay-Z had just had their friction, right? And the album was about Beyonce making lemonade out of lemons, out of a bad situation. Eras takes it a step further. Because, if I'm not mistaken, Eras is about all the albums, right? A project that somebody could choose to do for unit number 2 would be to look at just how intense people have gotten into each individual Taylor Swift album, or for that matter, taking their own look at every single individual Taylor Swift album along the way in a different way than Taylor Swift does. Hell, Jasmine, I had a student in my 300 level class, okay, who specifically, and quite frankly, kind of directly, trolled the Swifties in the class by producing this video, which was pretty mean. He didn't produce it, I'm sorry. He just shared a video. It was pretty mean to Taylor Swift and Taylor Swift fans. It was kind of about the Travis Kelce thing and everything like that, which Jasmine has been clear she didn't give a crap about, by the way. So he's, it misses the mark when it comes to Jasmine. But one of the things about, that, video right there illustrates just how intense, right, like criticism of Taylor Swift has gotten. If somebody wanted to, they could do their Unit 2 project about how every single Taylor Swift album sucks, okay? That could be what they decide to do for Unit number 2. Do I think that that's a worthwhile thing and people should choose to do that out of anything they could possibly do? No. Do people dedicate that much energy to how much they hate Taylor Swift? Absolutely. Okay? The question is, what gets you, I say you, meaning each and every one of you, out of bed in the morning? Okay? Because that part of your letter has to go into why you want to do this particular project. Okay? I shared with Michaela, I'll mention this about young Sheldon, circling back to that my oldest kid is autistic and hates the show Young Sheldon because he doesn't like the way that Young Sheldon, and by extension Big Bang Theory, demonstrate and show autism, right? I'd love to have Michaela have a conversation with my son about that because Michaela's great and Michaela's a fan of the show. And I know Michaela would introduce him to a different perspective on the subject at very least. But more to the point, I know what gets my son out of bed in the morning. If Michaela decided to do her Unit 2 project about Young Sheldon, which she absolutely could, right? The question, though, becomes what gets Michaela out of bed in the morning, right? Because I Like the Show is a very, very minimal start to where we're going to go. The connections that Michaela made were great, but they weren't necessarily personal, right? And part of this letter does kind of need to be personal because I need to understand why you're doing it. All right, how you're going to do it, all right? Now that I've ritually humiliated Jasmine and Genevieve, and to a slight extent Michaela, is anybody willing to share what they're thinking about for doing this yet? Eating a donut, drinking a bottle of water, breaking 3 laws they consider to be unjust, these are things people have done for Unit number 2. Songs, dances, skateboarding, these are things people have done. Annotated bibliographies, formal book reviews, these are things people have done for Unit number 2. The question is, what do you want to do? Okay? Maybe I'll just take a second to ask this following question. Do you guys believe me that I actually care what you want to do for Unit number 2? That I actually want you to do? Audrey doesn't believe me.
No, wait.
She's just fucking with me, probably.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody here have any hesitations, okay, about the idea of thinking that or just doing what you really want to do for this project? It makes sense. I'll tell you that I have had 2 times ever where I've said no to what somebody proposed. Once it was because the person wasn't really serious. They talked about burping for Unit 2. That was going to be their project. They were going to burp. When I said, okay, so let's talk about this, and I started getting serious in response, never mind, dude. I don't want to do burping. I was just saying that. The second one was a student who kind of wanted to provoke particular psychological reactions in the class when he did a presentation. But I'll share really quickly. Unit 2 does not include a mandatory presentation, okay? You can choose to include that as part of what you do for Unit number 2. You can say, I want to present for Unit number 2. It's not mandated in any way. So he wanted to do a presentation, and he wanted to freak people out to a in a negative sense. And I said, no, I'm sorry, I can't have you do that, especially since he didn't really have much reason why he wanted to do it. Not like it was like some sort of experiment or something. He just wanted to, so I had to say no to that one, okay? Other than that, I have literally never said no to somebody's proposal for Unit 2. I can't believe, guys, this class is like usually quite active, so we just have like a really, like, I mean, UNC's, the men's basketball team actually won this weekend, so maybe you guys are just pumped up for that. I don't know. It's been a rough patch for us. Is that what it was? Just you guys all partied out? We're all partied out. Okay. Let's talk about that. Let's say you want your Unit 2 project to be about, UNC men's basketball. Andre, you can turn the camera around. You can not. I don't care. But the quality of the video is
Well,
not
I don't want to get like people in it.
Okay. Nice.
No, wait.
Let's say you want your Unit 2 project to be about having a drinking party during a UNC game. Okay? Doesn't have to be UNC men's basketball. Hey, here's the thing. You notice how I was careful to say men's basketball a couple of times there instead of just saying UNC basketball, right? I got to tell you, I had a bunch of UNC women's basketball players this last summer, and one thing we talked about is how it kind of bothers them when people just say basketball, meaning the men's team. I also had a volleyball player. Her Unit 2 and Unit 3 projects were about how, being a volleyball player, she has to deal with being sexualized, okay? Especially if she decides to go into beach volleyball, where she can make a lot of money, but going into beach volleyball, you make a lot of money, but you also have to deal with a lot of, crude comments about certain parts of your anatomy, right? That's Unit number 2 material. And I want to know, guys, is this a situation where right now what you'd really rather me do is simply tell everybody to do an annotated bibliography? Okay.
So it can just be like anything.
It can literally be anything, but the purpose of this letter is to explain what it's going to be in detail, okay? To get a 100 on feeder number 3, of which you will bring how many copies?
2.
2 copies, right? You need to go